Have you ever tried a low-calorie diet as a strategy for losing weight? Did you get everlasting results? Or did you find the weight eventually crept back on? We understand how disheartening it is. It's not easy to stick to eating plans. They require food prep, special foods, and Navy SEAL-like discipline. While the professionals bicker over low-carb versus balanced, keto versus vegan, and whether it's as simple as calories in, calories out, the average person is left disoriented, fed up, and struggling to see any type of result. This video will show you how to lose those extra pounds with intermittent fasting. But before we go on, let's understand intermittent fasting. What exactly does intermittent fasting refer to? Almost all of us are familiar with the word fasting. The reasons people fast vary from one group to another. For some, it is a religious practice. They sacrifice food to commit to prayer. Others have no reason, they just lack food. Intermittent fasting is not among the fasting practices described earlier. It is neither a religious practice nor is it driven by the lack of time or food. It is a choice. It is best described as an eating pattern alternating between eating and fasting periods, with each period lasting a predetermined amount of time. For example, the 16-8 method has a fasting period of 16 hours and an eating period of 8 hours. Note that it is not a diet, but an eating pattern. Less is said about the foods you should eat, but more emphasis is put on when you eat them. Does this mean you can eat whatever you want? Unfortunately not. Like everything else in life, you'll get out what you put in. Clean eating is one of the 3 factors in the tripod to fat-burning success. Does this mean you must live on chicken and broccoli? No, of course not. We are humans, and we believe in enjoying life. But as you already know, moderation is the key here. Before delving into how intermittent fasting works, it's important to understand some key factors such as how the body stores energy, how the body uses energy. Your hormones role in this process. The body is either in a state of storing energy or burning energy. There is no middle ground. What does this mean? Well, if you're not burning glucose, that is sugar, you're storing it as either glycogen or fat. Does this mean you need to be constantly working out? Short answer, no. Exercise is only 10% to 15% of the weight loss equation. Your body burns energy in different ways. Even when you're stationary doing absolutely nothing, your body expends energy as it completes functions required for living. However, even though your cells might be using glucose and burning energy, any excess will be stored. This would count as a state of storage. Wait, if we're either storing sugar or burning it, logic would dictate less food and more exercise equals weight loss. It seems straightforward, right? If you have tried this approach before, you either saw results in the beginning only to have them come to a grinding halt, or you put it all back on when you return to your everyday lifestyle. So how do I lose weight then? To get a better picture, we need to understand 3 principles or factors we mentioned earlier. How the body stores energy, how the body uses energy, your hormones' role in this process. So how does your body store energy? The body can store energy in 2 ways, glycogen and fat. Food is broken down into a variety of different macronutrients through digestion. These macronutrients are absorbed into the bloodstream and transported throughout the body to our cells for various functions. For example, carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, a form of sugar which is then absorbed into the bloodstream and sent to cells to use for energy. However, if there's excess glucose in the bloodstream that is high blood sugar, it will be stored as glycogen through a process called glycogenesis. The body can only store so much glycogen. Once these glycogen stores are full, any excess glucose is stored as fat through a process known as lipogenesis. Now let's talk about how your body uses energy. When our cells require more energy than the bloodstream can provide, that is low blood sugar, glycogen is turned back into glucose through a process known as glycogenolysis. Our glycogen stores gradually deplete, restoring normal blood sugar levels. When these stores are empty, fat will be broken down for energy through a process known as lipolysis. Now we're burning fat. Now that you have a rough idea of how and why the body stores and uses energy, we will look at some key hormones that control this process. Hormones are commonly associated with mood, but they also play a huge role in your weight loss journey. The secretion of these hormones from various glands is triggered for a variety of reasons. For example, insulin is released by the pancreas when blood sugar levels rise. We will cover the key hormones you need to know about when it comes to weight loss. The first hormone we're going to talk about is insulin. Insulin is triggered when blood sugar rises. Its mission is to lower blood sugar. When you eat, your blood sugar will elevate. This rise will trigger a release of insulin. This is normal and important. However, constant overeating and unnecessary grazing of carbohydrates means constant blood sugar spikes, resulting in heightened insulin secretion. Because one of insulin's main functions is promoting storage, having this bad boy in your bloodstream constantly means you're in a state of storage. If we continue this route for long enough, we will develop what is called insulin resistance. This means insulin doesn't work effectively as our body has built a level of immunity to it. Now, extra insulin must be released to try and combat high blood sugar levels. With all this extra insulin in the bloodstream, your body will be in a storage state overload, prompting the liver to make glycogen and fat quicker than ever. The second hormone that plays a role in your weight loss is glucagon. Glucagon is released when blood sugar drops. Its mission is to raise blood sugar. Glucagon stimulates the liver to break glycogen back down into glucose for the bloodstream. Glucagon also plays a part in stimulating adipose tissues, also known as fat tissues, to break down fat stores in the bloodstream. As you can see, glucagon does the opposite of insulin. Having this bad boy in your bloodstream is going to help your body's ability to burn fat. The third hormone that plays a major role in your weight loss journey is the human growth hormone. Two other hormones regulate the release of human growth hormone. To keep things simple, we will leave them nameless for now. From a weight loss perspective related to fasting, all you need to know is human growth hormone can be triggered by adequate sleep, exercise, and low blood sugar levels. To keep it relative to weight loss, human growth hormone helps regulate low blood sugar. That is, it helps raise the blood sugar by breaking down fat. It also helps grow lean muscle. To help regulate low blood sugar levels, human growth hormone stimulates adipose tissue to break down stored fat to elevate the sugar level in the bloodstream. If you're on a weight loss journey, you want to nurture the production of this bad boy. The fourth hormone that is involved in weight loss is leptin. Leptin is released by fat cells. The more fat cells you have, the more leptin is released. Leptin helps stabilize weight by regulating hunger, satiety, and appetite. Leptin levels relate to how much body fat you have. The more body fat you have, the more leptin you have in your bloodstream. The less body fat you have, the less leptin you have in your bloodstream. When losing weight, the drop in body fat will lead to a drop in leptin levels. This results in an increase in appetite. Understanding this will help you understand why losing weight sometimes makes you feel like you want to eat a horse. In essence, having too much leptin suppresses your appetite. Like insulin, the body can develop leptin resistance. When overweight, the extra amounts of leptin in the bloodstream can cause the body to build immunity, meaning even though you carry a lot of body fat, the leptin doesn't work effectively to suppress your appetite. This can stimulate overeating and imbalance of the previously mentioned hormones. The last hormone that plays an important role in your weight loss is ghrelin, also known as the hunger hormone. Ghrelin levels in the blood rise just before eating time. The timing of this rise correlates to your normal eating routine. For example, if you have developed a routine for eating at 9 a.m. every morning, then your ghrelin level tends to rise whenever the time is getting close to 9 a.m. Ghrelin is responsible for a few things, but to keep it simple, its mission is to encourage you to eat. Ghrelin will rise in correlation with your normal eating pattern, but the interesting thing is it comes in waves. Dr. Fung found that over a prolonged period without food, ghrelin levels drop and hunger pangs pass. Have you ever felt hungry at lunch but were too busy to eat? Then by the time you came to eat, you weren't hungry anymore? If you ignore the hunger pangs, they will pass. Contrary to popular belief, that the hunger will keep building to unmanageable levels. It will pass. After a time, ghrelin release gets less frequent or switches to a new eating pattern. This has been found to help stop sugar cravings also. So, how exactly will intermittent fasting help you burn fat? Here's how. Your fasting period is going to promote 1. Lower insulin levels because there is no incoming food. This means insulin won't be stimulating the liver to store glycogen and fat. 2. Lower blood sugar triggers the release of glucagon and human growth hormone. These hormones will promote the breakdown of glycogen and fat stores to raise blood sugar and supply energy. 3. The breakdown of fats for energy will promote fat burning. 4. Increased levels of human growth hormone will help maintain muscle during the fat burning process. 5. Lower body fat percentage will help to combat leptin resistance. 6. Slowly suppress ghrelin secretion, which will stop hunger, sugar cravings, and overeating. Your eating period is going to 1. Supply the body with vital nutrients. 2. Keep you sane because life is short and food is awesome. Hopefully you can see that it is the hormonal imbalance that prevents you from getting the results you seek. To burn fat, we must first burn glycogen. Factors such as constant insulin spiking or insulin resistance heavily affect our ability to tap into stored fat. This is why you will often find little results no matter how hard you work out. If these key hormones aren't stimulated effectively, you will struggle to gain everlasting results. We would now turn our attention to a popular method of intermittent fasting. There are different methods of practicing intermittent fasting. However, they all have a similarity. They all include a feeding period and a fasting period. The fasting period varies in time length for the various methods. During this time, you either eat nothing at all or 0-calorie beverages. The feeding period also varies in time length for each method. During this time, you may eat whatever you want in moderation to avoid overfeeding. You should eat normally, and not as if you're compensating for the period you went without food. Some methods, like the warrior diet, may require that you eat foods in a certain order. One of the popular intermittent fasting methods is the 16-8 method. That's what our focus is going to be on in this video. But before we look at the 16-8 method, it is paramount to point out that intermittent fasting is not for everyone. Below are some people who should not try intermittent fasting. People under 18. People with diabetes, both type 1 and 2, without first seeing a doctor. Pregnant and breastfeeding mothers. People with eating disorders. People with low body fat. People with high cortisol levels. Before undertaking any diet, physical exercise program, or change to your normal habits, you should see a doctor or other relevant professional. Let's keep it safe, guys. Let us now look at the 16-8 method specifically. As the name suggests, this method is divided into 2 periods, a 16-hour fasting period and a specific 8-hour feeding period. You must keep your feeding period constant. This means you cannot decide to eat from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. today and shift it from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. the next day. This is for the sake of creating a schedule that is easy for your body to adapt to and easy to follow. Remember, the hunger hormone ghrelin is released in correlation with your eating pattern? Changing your pattern constantly could leave you hungry all the time and play havoc with the hormones we mentioned. This method is said to be more sustainable and easier to stick to, as you are not required to go too long without food, and it can easily fit into most people's day-to-day lives. For instance, the average person sleeps for 8 hours. You only need to fast for 8 more hours while awake, which makes the fasting period seem shorter. For example, if your last meal was at 10 p.m., you fast until 2 p.m. The following day, some of which you will be asleep, and the rest busy at work. You will barely notice the time. This method is popular as you can still have dinner with family or friends before your feeding window closes. It is important to note that some research suggests eating late at night produces higher insulin spikes than during the day, impacting sleep quality and promoting storage overnight. So, it's advisable to eat your last meal earlier. Before starting with intermittent fasting, we recommend you have a clear vision of what you want to achieve. Vague goals like I want to get fit, healthy, or lose a couple of pounds just won't cut it when the going gets tough. You need a clear reason for doing this, or you are most likely going to quit. When coaching clients, we tell them to consider 3 factors. 1. What do you want to do that you cannot currently in 30 days, 90 days, 12 months? 2. What do you want to look like in 30 days, 90 days, 12 months? 3. How do you want to feel in 30 days, 90 days, 12 months? After filling this out, we also tell them to ask themselves why they want these things and what they think will be different if they were to achieve these goals. This will help you realize what is important to you. A lot of the time our goals come from outside influences, but at the end of the day, they must be relevant to you. If you're new to intermittent fasting and want to lose weight, 3 key factors can help you succeed. The first factor is diet and nutrition. Nutrition plays a critical role in any health and fitness journey. The thing is, we often know what to eat. You know vegetables are good for you, meat has protein, and you probably know processed food is generally bad. I will not give you the same old avoid bread, pasta, blah blah spiel you've heard 100 times. However, we will also cover 2 essential electrolytes vital to your weight loss. People often lack as well as how much fat, protein, and carbs you should consume for the best results. It's advisable in the beginning to just focus on getting used to your window. You will get immediate results. Once you are used to the 16-to-8 lifestyle, move on to more advanced concepts for further results. What quantity of fat, carbohydrates, and protein should you consume? As mentioned before, the game aims to burn through glycogen stores, forcing the body to use fat. Over time, the aim is to get our body used to burning fat as its primary fuel source to keep you lean all year round. The best way to do this is to restrict carbs and increase fat consumption. It's worth noting that protein should be kept at a moderate level, as too much can be converted into glucose and stored by the body as glycogen. We want to take this opportunity to note that you don't have to be keto or follow a ketogenic diet to get results with intermittent fasting. Always make sure to consult your doctor before changing your diet. Below are some examples of typical macronutrient quantities that you should eat: 50% fat, 30% protein, and 20% carbohydrates, or 60% fat, 30% protein, and 10% carbohydrates, or 65% fat, 25% protein, and 10% carbohydrates. Either of these regimes should suffice. Here's a guideline for consuming fat that would help you in your journey. Some people still find it hard to comprehend that consuming fat does not automatically transfer to getting fat. As Nina Teicholz reveals in her book, The Big Fat Surprise, the low-fat movement is full of misinformation and shady scientific support. I suggest you check Nina and her book out. If you want to burn fat as fuel to attain everlasting weight loss, you will have to come to terms with eating more fat than you may have thought healthy. We're not saying you have to go keto, but a steady intake of saturated fats. Yes, you heard right. Will help your body transition to burning fat as fuel. Avoid trans fat and hydrogenated oils. Partially hydrogenated oils contain trans fat. Trans fat contributes to a range of health issues, including the rise of low-density cholesterol. You can consume fully hydrogenated fats. Fully hydrogenated fat becomes saturated fat. The difference between fully hydrogenated fat and partially hydrogenated fat is that fully hydrogenated fat contains no trans fat. Here's a tip. If it stays solid at normal room temperature, it's saturated fat. It's safe to assume. Here are some examples of healthy fats: avocado, fatty fish, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, full-fat yogurt, nuts, whole eggs, and cheese. Here are some fruit guidelines that would help you in your journey. There's so much conflicting information about fruit that it deserves a special mention in this video. The simple fact is that fruit is high in sugar. On the molecular level, your cells do not divide foods like fruit and chocolate into healthy and not healthy categories. Glucose is glucose, period. Any other forms of sugar, fructose, dextrose, and any other word ending in "ose" are converted to glucose and used accordingly. Fruit should only be eaten in season and small amounts if you're trying to lose weight. By constantly eating fruit, you're telling your body that it should be moving into a state of storage. Here's how we recommend you use fruit when trying to lose weight: ditch fruit smoothies. Consume fruit straight after workouts with a protein shake. Never eat fruit without a source of protein. Fruit smoothies are sugar bombs. The amount of sugar cancels out any antioxidant effects the drink may have. Use leafy green smoothies instead for the same benefits. Consuming fruit after workouts with a protein shake is a great way to spike insulin so the muscle cells can absorb the protein shake. We know spiking insulin is usually a red light when fasting for weight loss, but in this instance, it will promote lean muscle gain because insulin snack is also responsible for helping cells absorb protein. If you're going to eat fruit as a snack, make sure to eat it with a protein source such as nuts. This will slow the sugar absorption into the bloodstream, giving you longer-lasting energy and preventing energy loss later in the day. Another controversial topic that deserves special mention is breakfast. Now here's a guideline for breakfast. You've probably heard that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. This is true, but you don't have to eat breakfast in the morning. The word breakfast simply means break your fast. Just think of breakfast as your first meal of the day, regardless of what time you eat it. For example, you can have breakfast at 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Traditionally, people find 16 to 8 easier by starting their eating window later in the day. That isn't gospel. Pick whatever window suits you. So, if you're a person who hates eating in the morning, don't worry. That's not the reason you can't lose weight. The biggest tip we can give you when it comes to your first meal is to make sure it's high in protein and fats, but low in carbohydrates. The reason for this is that whatever you eat first will determine what fuels your body will burn over the course of the day. A high carbohydrate breakfast primes the body to seek sources of sugar, giving you nasty sugar cravings, energy dips, and a foggy brain. A breakfast full of protein and fats will prime the body to seek fat for fuel and keep you fuller for longer. Starting the day with this kind of breakfast has also been shown to help with anxiety and depression by promoting higher levels of serotonin. So, ditch fruit smoothies for leafy green alternatives. Ditch cereals for foods like eggs and avocado. Feel free to drop a bit of grass-fed meat into the mix. Avoid resistant starches in this meal also. Let's turn our attention to electrolytes you need while you're on your weight loss journey. Electrolytes are also an important part of our nutrition in the journey of weight loss through intermittent fasting. These bad boys contribute to many different functions in our bodies, from muscle contraction to sending messages between the brain and other organs, to give you the best possible start without overwhelming you. We're going to talk about 2 important electrolytes you can start adding to your diet today. The first electrolyte is potassium. When we get muscle cramps, we are commonly told we lack water and/or magnesium. Now, this is true, but another reason for muscle tightness could be a lack of potassium. This is because we need far more potassium a day than magnesium. Some signs of low potassium can include muscle tightness, swollen ankles, and sugar cravings. Yes, low potassium could cause sugar cravings. Some sources of potassium include beet tops, avocados, spinach, lima beans, potato, and Brussels sprouts. Try adding some of these to your diet more regularly to boost your potassium. Be aware of potato and lima beans, as they have high carbohydrate content. These are best kept in moderation. The second electrolyte is magnesium. As you already know, low magnesium can cause muscle cramps. It is interesting to note that a lot of magnesium is lost from food during the digestion process. Rock salt baths and magnesium creams are a great way to make sure your muscles are getting enough. Some signs of low magnesium can include muscle soreness, insomnia, anxiety, depression. Some sources of magnesium are spinach, almonds, quinoa, and sesame seeds. These 2 electrolytes are very important, but as you can see, they may not be easily added to your diet. Of course, there's more, but getting more of these 2 is a great start to burning fat. We highly recommend supplementing these 2, as it can be hard to get enough through food alone. The second factor that contributes to our weight loss success is exercise. Exercise has many wonderful benefits. It can help with depression and anxiety while also helping you to attain your aesthetic goals. Exercise is also going to play a part in the balancing of the hormones mentioned earlier, Exercise promotes the production of human growth hormone, but will also help drain glycogen stores quickly. If burning fat is your mission, we recommend high-intensity interval training, HIIT. Fast-paced workouts that can be done in 30 minutes make this ideal for someone with a busy lifestyle. High-intensity interval training can be done with bodyweight exercises, barbells, kettlebells, and dumbbells. As you now know, during your fasting state, blood glucose levels drop, and glycogen stores are depleted. Without a ready supply of these easily available sources of energy, the body must adapt and pull from the other source of energy that is available: fat. According to John Rowley, Wellness Director for the International Sports Science Association, exercising when hungry has one main advantage: increasing your body's ability to burn more fat. He says the less glucose you have in your system, the more fat you will burn. Founder and CEO of Diet Free Life, LLC, Robert Ferguson, MSCN, supports Rowley's insight. He says your muscles don't have much sugar to draw from, so you are more likely to tap into your stored energy, which means releasing and burning what we refer to as surplus fat. After exercising while hungry, it is recommended that you have a post-workout meal, which means that you should schedule your feeding window to fall an hour or so after your workout. Most of the food that you consume will not be stored as fat, as it normally would. Most of it will be burned as energy to aid in the recovery process. The third factor that contributes to our weight loss success is recovery, rest, and sleep. As promised, here is the third, perhaps most important part of the weight loss puzzle, which is often neglected: sleep. Getting proper sleep can skyrocket your results. Here's how. Our body primarily enters an anabolic building type phase during sleep. Our body goes to work repairing damage, replacing cells, and believe it or not, burning fat. Shawn Stevenson explains this in his book, Sleep Smarter: 21 Essential Strategies to Sleep Your Way to a Better Body Health and Bigger Success. This video has outlined key hormones you should know about for weight loss, but there are many more. Some of these hormones help initiate repair and growth, and some help keep us awake. One of the big factors dictating the creation and release of these hormones we talked about earlier is quality sleep. Stevenson cites studies showing sleep deprivation can be linked to high levels of hormones, such as cortisol and insulin. Remember what too much insulin does. He also mentions hormones correlated with fat burning that are only secreted during sleep and darkness. Remember how human growth hormones help burn fat? Quality sleep is linked to the creation of this hormone. If you're not getting quality sleep at the right times, all the exercise and healthy eating may not yield the results you were hoping for. If you've ever dieted before while thrashing yourself in the gym, only to see little to no results, you know how frustrating this is. Perhaps proper sleep was the missing piece you needed. Here are 3 tips to sleep better at night. Tip number 1. Get more sun. Our body's circadian system, or body clock, plays a huge role in the production of hormones. This is heavily influenced by sunlight. Stevenson explained light, specifically morning sunlight, signals our glands and organs it's time to wake up, cueing them to produce daytime hormones. Most of these help keep you alert and awake. If our bodies get inefficient sunlight in the morning and then too much artificial light at night, such as TVs, laptops, and smartphones, our circadian clock gets jumbled. This can cause our glands to produce hormones that prevent us from sleeping. Lack of quality sleep is going to hinder the production of hormones, such as human growth hormone, and could even spike the creation of hormones such as insulin. If this happens, we won't burn fat overnight. Tip number 2. Avoid screens before bedtime. If you are someone who watches TV until 11 p.m. or falls asleep on YouTube on your phone, the quickest way to improve sleep would be to stop using your devices at least an hour before bedtime. Remember how our body clock is impacted by sunlight? It's also impacted by artificial light. Our eyes are a major light sensor, and the blue light produced by our favorite screens stimulates our body to produce daytime hormones, which are primarily for keeping us awake and active. With these bad boys circulating in our bodies, falling asleep will be hard, and our bodies won't produce those sweet anabolic hormones we need to repair and lose weight. Some of which Stevenson cited as only being produced in the dark. Tip number 3. Sleep in darkness. Although this might seem apparent after the first 2 tips, some people neglect this tip when not told. We can't control lights outside, such as street lamps and annoying security lights, but these could still affect our sleep on the molecular level, interrupting repair and leaving us tired the next day. Black out your windows with heavy-duty curtains to stop pesky outside lights. With that, we have come to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on future content.